Hey everybody, ronarray here, and today we need to talk about the balancing and bugs in Last Epoch. So just to make sure everybody on the same page, I'm going to explain the situation pretty quickly for everybody. I'm going to use the arena ladder, not because it's just so important, but because it can showcase the issue. As you can see, most of the classes here are Warlocks, together with some Falconers. Right now, the biggest issue with the Warlock is a Profane Veil bug. Some of them used the previous version of the bugs, like the Ghost Flame bug, but some of them are still using the Profane Veil. And the Profane Veil bug is the main point that we are going to talk about today. The Profane Veil is a Warlock skill that can give you some percentage of health of your minions as a ward. Generally it should be 4%, but due to some mistake, it just gives you 40% instead. And that's huge. It pretty much leads the Warlock, basically receiving 60k ward instead of 6. You can also push it even further, going up to 1 million ward according to some people like Lizard, for example. And well, it's a big issue right now, because that way Warlock can be basically immortal. We can see it in the arena ladder, we can perfectly see it in the corruption push, and it leads us to some issues with balancing. Generally, since it's a bug, a lot of people expected it to be fixed. But well, developers sent a few messages on Reddit showcasing they're not really going to fix it right now. They're still open for the feedback, and I think it's pretty nice that EG want to take our opinion about that. So this is how I want to provide my feedback and gather the feedback from others. In this video, I also added a lot of messages from other content creators. I talked to most of them on the streams, I asked for their commentary, and I tried to add that on Cadet. First off, I want to comment on the messages that developers sent. After that, I'm going to give my own opinion, and I'm going to add all opinions from people I talked with. So let's go and look into it. Here you can see the response on the screen that EHG Justin posted on Reddit about a day ago. Our current plan is to release that fix in 1.1. Even though it's a bug, changing it would be a mid-cycle nerf. So we're trying to avoid that in all cases except where necessary for server stability. So it seems they're going to fix the Ghost Flame bugs that already came to their attention, but they're not really going to do anything with Profane Veil. And Warlock will probably still have crazy amount of ward. And I honestly wanted to talk a little more about it, because right now it feels for me like it's not the right way to approach this. I can perfectly understand why mid-cycle nerfs could be considered not a good thing. Generally, people really like that they are playing builds and their builds are strong. And well, I mean, that's the whole point of RPG, right? You need to feel strong, and it's pretty important for you. But I still think that we can build strong builds, like really strong builds, without resorting to the bugs. There's also other people who play in other classes, people who play in Falconer without exploiting everything. I'm sure there are a lot of such people, and they're all playing a pretty strong build, so they can feel great about themselves, and the game can work for them without resorting to the bugs. I don't want to say anything against people that are currently using the bug with Warlock. I mean, it's there, why not? They try to use it. But I think it's pretty much what developer needs to do. He needs to stop there and try to fix the bug. We can't consider it nerfing, because the whole bug situation was completely unintended. Since developer never intended it to be that strong, we can't consider it a nerf. It just happened by itself. Just imagine if some build magically found a button that will kill everything on the screen immediately due to some bug. Will it feel powerful? Well, yes. And will the developer needs to fix it as fast as possible? Well, yes. Just because that way the game will feel much better for players too. Because when players reaching the power too easy, for example, to use the Ghost Flame bug, you don't even need to ascend. You can use it on level 56 character. And I think it's completely broken. Mostly because you don't really need to push for that power. RPG is mostly based around the idea when you are pushing to reach the power, to become more powerful, to build your build, to destroy enemies more easily, and it's satisfying process. You're just going to get that goal, and that's pretty important. So I think that bugs like that just destroying that process and destroying the communication between the developer and the game itself and the player. If you don't really need to push for that power, you can just go use a bag and take it. I think it's kinda invalidates the whole process. So generally, that was just my own opinion. Let's see what other content creators think about the topic, because I talked with a lot of them, and I will be happy to provide you with their takes as well. Most of them uncutted, and thank you very much for all of you for participating in that.
I think, like, you know, obvious game-breaking bugs should be addressed, and quickly, or else people get used to them and then they're not going to enjoy the game anymore in the future if you fix it. So you just need to act quickly in these cases, I think. Depends on the severity of the case, and this is a very severe case, it seems.
So yeah, personally, I think that the devs have communicated, at least, or hinted, that they're open to the idea of them changing their mind on this issue, because they kind of hinted in today's patch notes. And my feedback would be, although I don't want to overstep my boundaries, I'm just one person. I don't represent anyone other than myself with this opinion. But that being said, I personally think that when the numbers don't line up, right? Like, for example, the arena keys right now in game, they sell for 200 gold, but they say they sell for 6,500. Either the tooltip needs to change or the gold cost needs to change. It needs to match what it says, right? And it's kind of the same thing with the Profane Veil situation. If it's supposed to give an amount of ward on the tooltip and it doesn't give the amount of ward in game, they either need to change the tooltip or they need to change how much ward it gives. The fact that they're just choosing to leave it as is while not changing the tooltip is weird, right? Because if it's clearly, like, for example, right? If I have an ability that hits for 10 damage on my tooltip, but it just hits for 100 damage because of a literal game bug, because of an error in the game, they just added an extra 0, they should change it. Again, they should just change that. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, they should change that. 100%, I think they should change that. Now, while it will affect game balance, Path of Exile, the way they do it, if it's a clear bug, they will change it because it's a clear bug. Or alternatively, GGG have also buffed the ability to reflect its in-game power while fixing the bug as well. Like, the reality is the game should work the way it's intended or the way it reads in-game. Like, do you know what I mean? That doesn't... Now, again, let's say they decided to nerf the Profane Veil thing. Maybe they should buff it as well. Maybe they should fix it and buff it at the same time if they think that is the appropriate level of power that people should be running around with. So the game shouldn't have bugs? Correct. I don't know why this is a controversial opinion. The game should not have bugs. And if they're aware of a bug and they can fix it, but they choose not to because of the sake of balance, I think that's the wrong approach. I don't think the game should be balanced around bugs.
I think when there's something that is so drastically overtuned and it is a bug and it affects literally the entire situation of the meta, especially trade as well, since you can push pretty much infinite corruption with that, why would you even play anything else if you're trying to be efficient with your farming and trying to be... Oh, Rune of Creation. And you're trying to be efficient with your farming and be efficient with your, your time spent and how much gold you can get. You want to... If you can push high corruption with no risk of dying and still be efficient, why would you play anything else? You always keep all your rewards. I do think the Profane Veil bug should be addressed and should be fixed. It's a bug fix. It's not like an actual nerf to any builds. The build will still get a ton of ward from that node, even if it's just 4%. You will still get a ton of ward. It will just not be completely and utterly out of the spectrum of what builds are expected to get in terms of VHP.
I personally think leaving the game in this state just makes the game worse, which is ultimately what matters. I don't think it's about balance. I don't think it's about the ladder. I think it's about having a good game. And I think the bugs make the game worse, period. And that's it. Like, honestly. I think it makes the game worse. I think that it makes the game worse. I think it makes the game be perceived as it worst I think it makes EAG look worse than they are. I think it makes them look like naive. It makes them look stupid, and it makes them look incompetent. And I think it's a shame when we have a gem of a game that is just. I think they're just missing the mark here, which is a shame because I think the game is worth it. And I think the devs are extremely talented when it comes to design, when it comes to ideas, when it comes to all of these things. And they're somehow letting that go to waste because they're okay with these bugs.
This should have been changed immediately. I agree with the dive bomb nerf, right? As someone playing like dive bomb, right? I agree with them nerfing it because it was breaking servers. But personally, I would have found a different way to solve it by just like capping smoke bombs to 5 stacks or something for the rest of the season. So, you know, the build can be just as powerful as it's always been without the abuse case happening and without, you know, it breaking servers and without, you know, like one-tapping bosses with it. But I don't know. I just, yeah. Personally, I'm in the camp that typos should be changed, right? Bugs, like if a build's abusing a bug to be broken, I mean, you know, that's getting into a realm of like balance changes. I don't think I'd want balance changes, but you know, like a typo like that, yeah, I think a typo like that should just be fixed literally immediately, right? Like we've known about this like since like, I don't know, maybe a few days into the season. Like boo-hoo, you know, if it gets nerfed a few days into the season, it is what it is, right? Obviously now at this point when a lot of people know about this, like, you know, 3 weeks into the season, yeah, it kind of sucks because it fucks a lot of people over. But you know, like if they were, you know, like if their philosophy for this going forward is, oh, you know, we know about this on day 3, okay, we take it out, that's fine.
I mean, it's very simple. Profane Veil simply doesn't work as it's stated on the tooltip. It says 4%, but it's 40%. You could not expect how much word you would get from reading the patch notes and looking at the tree. So it should be fixed. The fact that it's not fixed at tier 1.1 is really, really bad. It sets a really bad precedent where people can just expect to play things that are just blatantly bugged that don't work as stated in the game, and expect ESG to not do anything about it, and then I'll get mad to ESG if they actually fix bugs in the future. But they need to fix it like now. Like right now. They should have fixed it as soon as it was known that it was actually bugged. Like bugs should not stay in the game for any period of time. Like they should be fixed instantly. If possible, obviously. I don't know how hard it is for them to fix, but I mean, in this case, it's literally just a 0. This is extra 0. You just remove the extra 0 and it's done. But they just don't want to piss off people for some reason, I think. I don't know. This is such a big mistake. They should not be scared of making a couple people blatantly bug abusing angry. Like, that should not be a thing. Like, if people are playing this, knowing it's bugged, and they push and stuff, they play the character, and then later it gets fixed, and they're like, oh, my character is not as strong anymore. Well, I mean, that was not supposed to be this strong to begin with, so.
I think the game's balance right now is really bad. I think that bug fixes are not the same as nerfs. Even though they have the same outcome, they're not the same. You can catch it from the VOD. The VOD has new music. Those are not the same thing. And your job as a dev is it is to sort of figure out what is a bug to you. Like, oh, maybe 60,000 ward is a bug, or maybe over 100,000 ward is a bug, but maybe something else is slightly overpowered, like Rune Master, right? But it's not necessarily a bug. Maybe there's like a small bug in there that gives you like a little bit more, but in general, I just think that like, I just don't want to play the game anymore right now. Yeah, or 1 million ward, whatever, right? Like, but the thing is, how high does it have to go for you to care? It's like, if you can grind to 3,000 corruption, which takes days, and you just don't die, that's weird as hell. Like, what kind of balance is that? Like, what is that? And some others start dying at, like, I don't know, 700, 800 corruption. Because if they were to spec into defense, they would just get one shot. They would just do no damage. I mean, Healing Hand, same thing. I just don't know. The balance in this game right now is just not for me. That's all I'm going to say. But then again, if you don't care about that kind of stuff, then sure, you're going to have fun anyways. But I really think Last Epoch's balance right now is absolutely, like, it's not there, right? It's not for me.
I feel like the game just launched. it's not in beta, and some people say that the game sometimes feels like it's still in beta. The game just launched and has way more content than games like, for example, Path of Exile had when that came out 10, 11 years ago, right? I think that it is a wise decision from EHG to decide to not do heavy balance changes mid-cycle and rather listen to the community and take feedback and then make a sound decision of how they want to tackle these situations moving forward. I think that is the safest bet for the company to do, even though I'm personally, my personal opinion on the specificness of the ward idiocracy that's going on is obviously that I really wish that they would have fixed it because it's just straight up obnoxious. I understand why they decided not to do it, and I think that's fair. I also feel like if people want to play it, sure, go ahead, have fun, enjoy it, because it's overpowered, similar to other situations we had in other games where something's been super overpowered, and as long as it's not, a bug or game breaking to the point where it's ruining the servers, which one of the things were fixed, then I think it's kind of whatever. They made this decision, we gotta live with it. The main reason as to why I'm in the boat of thinking that they should have fixed this is that the way that is played is creating a power spike in a gameplay loop that is just, you're not gonna have that kind of gameplay ever again, or at least hopefully not, right? That moving into the next cycle and then forward. So the way some people are playing right now with this is just straight up not the way this game will be played. And I feel like that could present them with a problem that it's presenting a type of way of playing the game or a power spike that is then going to be completely obliterated on the next cycle, and that might upset the kind of the expectations from the players that are playing it right now that might not be too well read up or staying up to date that this is actually a pretty heavy abuse.
So, well, that's been like a lot of opinions, and I can perfectly understand most of them. On the other hand, some other content creators decided to focus a little more as the game just released, and there could be some other features that we need to prioritize right now. Let's go and listen to them as well.
Fixing everything and making it playable for more people. I think that is the #1 thing right now. I think if you want me to give an honest opinion, it's not that the Last Epoch devs are spitting in content creators' face saying we're not fixing bugs that are affecting your game, is that we just released the game and there's a multitude of things to work on right now, and that's it. I think that's it, personally. There are still, like, core bugs preventing a lot of different builds to... There's just a lot of bugs right now with the game in general. Regardless of game balance, a lot of skills, like, don't feel good. This is, like, an important thing, right? I think that's a lot more important than the top percentile of people who are getting more loot farming monoliths or being on the leaderboard.
I think that they have a priority list, like any company should, and having a launch at this size is always going to run into problems, no matter what they do, and they need to prioritize based on what the biggest impact is for players. And if we're being honest, bugs for the majority of players, bugs that benefit characters that make them too strong for balance, isn't a priority right now. It's not. If we're being frank, as much as I like to meme on it, it doesn't affect me. I don't give a who the top leaderboard person is.
Whether they fix it or not, it's a lose-lose situation for them. And it's probably better to not fix it. And the reason being is that you're going to make a lot of people quit the moment you fix it. So it's more okay. So from a purely monetary point of view, and a purely let's protect our Steam reviews point of view, I think they end up running into more problems if they fix it than if they don't. Now, I hate that they don't fix it, because for me, like, I mean, the ladders are a joke. However, the ladders don't matter. Like at this current point in the game, the ladders don't fucking matter. I'm sorry. It's like they don't. Arena takes way. Arena is not. Is kind of meh to play anyways. And like the balance is all over the place on so many accounts anyways. So. And the moment they fix one thing, people will ask them to fix the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. I was like, why is this not fixed? Why is this not fixed? Why are you doing this but not this? It's like, it's kind of an impossible situation.
So that's been it for content creators. But what like normal players think? Unfortunately, we can't ask people just in chat because it will be much harder to get opinions like that. So I'm going to use some forms of Reddit messages and posts to showcase different opinions as well. So last time I checked on the main Reddit page of Last Epoch, there been like a huge topic called EG, please do not cultivate a culture of bug abusing players. You can check it out and you can see the post on the screen right now. So generally it's also full of messages like that. So wow, that's a lot to take in, but some other people on Reddit had different kind of opinions as well, as it usually should be. They're mostly focusing on the stuff that like game just released, or it's not that important, or there are like different takes on the question. So on top of that, there's also a few additional issues that I want to address. First, a few things definitely feels overtuned in the first cycle. It's such stuff as Healing Hands, Paladin or Falconer in general. I don't really think it should be nerfed right now, but I think it would be great if developers will look at it, at least for the next cycle. I think it's pretty important. Because balancing stuff could affect the gameplay, it could affect the merchant guild, it could affect the leaderboards, even if the leaderboards has nothing to talk a lot about, it still could be pretty important. It can also affect drops and general satisfaction that people are receiving once they're kind of playing the game. So I think it would be pretty nice. Another issue would be Ward itself, as a lot of people already mentioned, and I'm definitely not the first who will kind of talk about that. Ward right now is totally overpowered. It pretty much provides you a lot of survivability, much more than health ever could. So instead of like 3 or maybe 4,000 of health, you can get like 10,000 of Ward. And it's pretty much leads to making some other defensive mechanics, such as endurance for example, completely useless, because you're not really need endurance if you have Ward. Well, that's how it works. And it leads to Ward builds pretty much dominating the whole game right now. You still can build on health, and it can happen in some cases, but it's much harder, and reaching survivability that Ward can provide is almost impossible at the health builds. I think it's an issue that should be addressed as well, maybe in the next cycle, but generally some kind of limitation for the Ward would be really good. And that's a part of the balancing itself. It will lead us to more build variety, and more build variety will lead us to more fun for everybody, for regular people that are kinda just playing the game and having fun, and for content creators such as me, build makers, who want to create some kind of builds, interesting approaches, or try some interactions. I think it could be pretty important. So maybe they need to base that Ward part mostly on your ward retention, so your maximum ward could be just linked with ward retention. Or maybe they can make your maximum ward linked to your house, so for example you can't have more wards on like 3 times your house, or 4 times your house, or 2 times your house. It definitely needs some balancing right now, and some kind of limitation will be a good thing. For example, Energy Shield and Path of Exile is pretty limited for a reason. Even if you can get like tens of thousands of it, it's much harder and there are still limits. And I think Ward ultimately should go the same direction. Talking about the conclusion for the whole topic, I would say that most of the content creators really want fixes. At least the people I speak with, and people who provided their comments for that video, well, most of them want fixes. Some of them can say that, well, it's not that easy to fix stuff, but most of them want it, as players and as content creators. About the players, as I can see based on Reddit, it looks like most of the people want it too. I can understand that there surely be some unhappy people, but sometimes developers need to take hard decisions. And well, I think, just like my opinion, it will be better for the game if they will take a stance against bugs right now, because it will pretty much lead the good way, like good example. And it will be much easier to go forward with such decision. Because when you already took the stance against bug abusing and you're not really tolerating it too much, I think it's a right stance, and going forward, it will give an example what people can expect from EHD. That's my opinion, at least. Well, feel free to share your opinion in the comments right here under that video or on any topics regarding the topic overall. Thank you very much for watching. Well, feel free to like and subscribe for more content if you're interested in that. And thank you again for all the people who participated in creating of this. See you next time.